Camp Wawanakwa is the home of total drama. It looks beautiful from above and from afar, and has some great views of the landscape as well, despite its rather violent flora and fauna. However, this island that is the home of the campsite for Total Drama's contestants is also a place full of mystery. There's barely even a history of the island as well, besides the fact that Chris once said he found buried treasure on the island and that's how he purchased the island. Even that tiny bit of history is still weird considering the fact that this island is potentially fake. From the very first episode of Total Drama, we see that the only way to even get to the island is by boat, as that is how all the contestants show up to the island. And from all the different views of the island, it is seen that this is just an island with water surrounding it. Of course, we never really see the back half of the island in close-up views, unless parts of the forest we see in a bunch of episodes take place on this part of it. But still, this is clearly just a regular island from an outside view, and besides the weird animals, there's nothing really that unusual about this island. That is until the final special episode of Total Drama Island. Total Drama Island introduces some rather fascinating questions into the legitimacy of this island. First of all, Playa de Losers is supposedly on a whole different island that has a much more tropical setting than the one Camp Wawanakwa is located on, but it's still in close enough proximity to that island. However, in that episode, when that huge check of $1 million is introduced and is pushed into frame at that resort, it cuts to a scene where the check is shown on the original island, which would mean Playa de Losers is also somehow on the same island as Camp Wawanakwa. That obviously doesn't really make much sense, but maybe this is just a really weird part of the island. This also comes up again in All Stars, where it appears as if the area where Playa de Losers was is basically on the same island. It's kind of strange, but this does imply that the island may have some extreme differences in climate and vegetation depending on the area of the island. There's more that comes up in this special episode though. Later in the episode, after Courtney runs into a wall that looks like the island's surroundings, she climbs it and finds out that there's a whole drive-through right on the other side of this wall. That means that they were right by civilization this entire time and nobody ever knew. But this obviously raises a ton of questions. From the above views of the island we've seen, there's seemingly no mainland close enough for this to even be possible, unless hidden beneath the trees and mountain there is some sort of town, and that's why we've never really seen that side of the island. Either way, it's incredibly funny to see a drive-through right there on the same island seemingly, but it's really weird because this would likely prove that the island might just be fake as well. The drive-through actually comes up another time as well. In the Revenge on the Island episode of Grand Chef Otto, after Chef Hatchet gets back to Chris and has the cast ruin his monument of himself, they arrive to the scene late all because Chef made a stop in the drive-thru on his ATV.
My beautiful 50-foot concrete face! Did you have to stop at the drive-thru?
That again implies that there's a drive-thru on the same island, and it also implies that there's a way that they can get to the drive-thru while still driving, as I don't think they would have stopped the ATV, scaled up and down the wall, gotten their food, scaled up and down the wall again with their food, and got back to driving. It's a really quick throwaway line in the episode, so you'd likely miss it if you weren't paying a ton of attention, but it does add to this mystery of this drive-thru and possible further civilization on this island. And Total Drama Action is also filled with these instances that further prove that the island might just be completely fake or there's something really off about it. Beach Blanket Bogus shows the cast arriving back to Camp Wawanakwa from the film lot via a bus. How a bus can even get to the island is a mystery itself, considering the island is surrounded by water and the film lot is clearly on land and not on an island. But this isn't even the only time this happens. In Crouching Courtney, Hidden Owen, they arrive back to the island. The remaining cast is on the island for the remainder of the episode, but there's this part where Duncan is making Harold wash the limousine and all of Chris's cars in a parking lot that is quite interesting to me. There's also a whole city backdrop in this scene as well, and I think this is just supposed to be a parking lot at the film lot or something, but they're all back at camp for this episode, so is this entire parking lot and city in the back also on the island as well? Maybe I'm just reading too much into that, but they never left the island mid-episode and then immediately went back. So that would also mean that the limousine managed to get to the island too, but I don't even know. And if that wasn't enough, Top Dog has the remaining cast arrive back to the island via bus again. And the challenge for this episode was for them to make their way back to the film lot by foot, which would imply that the distance between the film lot and island isn't very far. Or at least that's kind of how Chris acts. Then again, Chris is not the most easygoing guy either, so that could just be him being extremely impatient, which I can relate to. Nonetheless, Beth is the first person to arrive back, and after her, it takes like 2 days for the rest of the cast to make it back to the film lot, so that would actually show that it's quite a long distance between the film lot and the island. Now, obviously a bus ride is going to be much faster than walking or even swimming possibly, but it's tough to determine whether the distance between Camp Wawanakwa and the film lot is actually that close or that far. And in the finale of Total Drama Action, one more stop is taken to Camp Wawanakwa, although this one was by a complete mistake. Chris and Chef were trying to get to the aftermath location, and Chris was just so fed up with the traffic, so he began directing the driver to get them there faster. However, Chris has terrible directions and they end up back at Camp Wawanakwa somehow. Once again, this would imply that the island is somehow connected to the bigger city, as they were just at the airport and in traffic, and now they're back at the crummy location of their previous season. What is up with the island, and how is it so well connected to civilization that you can drive to it, especially multiple times in a single season? Maybe it's not even the island that's fake, but maybe it's just the water surrounding it that's fake. But then again, that wouldn't make any sense either, as we've seen people swim in the water and be dumped into it, along with the boat of losers and the boat in the first episode being utilized. So maybe the only real water is the water around the dock, and the rest of the water on the island is fake, and it's all connected back to civilization somehow? But that just sounds utterly ridiculous. And the island doesn't seem big enough to contain the amount of wilderness that we've seen, plus a drive-through, a film lot, an airport, and just an entire big city in general. This is where the real mystery of the island lies. Unless there's some bridge that goes back to the mainland that is just never seen or illustrated, but then that would also make it extremely obvious that this is all kind of fake in the first place. I feel like this is beginning to just sound too conspiracy theorist-ish, but there's also real people out there who think stuff like the moon is fake and that the world is all flat, so I don't know, maybe Camp Wawanakwa is just real and that's all, despite the fact that you can drive to it and also get fast food on it. That to me just is really weird. But then it gets even weirder than this, because at the end of All Stars, the entire island sinks. And we see that too. It's all gone after this, which is why there's a need for another island, that being Paktu. Camp Wawanakwa was now gone forever. It exploded, it sunk, it was done. But wait, it wasn't. In the reboot of Total Drama Island, the island is just somehow back after all these years. I know we all clearly saw what happened to the island, so maybe it really is just fake if it could be just completely rebuilt like that. Now, Terry McGurn on Twitter did state that it's never actually mentioned in the show that this is the same island, as it did sink beforehand, but Chris explicitly says in the beginning of the reboot that they're back to where the show first began 15 years ago.
It's been 15 years since our show first aired, and we're back where it all began. This abandoned summer camp in Muskoka, Canada.
And maybe it could be meaning it's just in the same location, but that feels a little too scientific maybe and whatever for that to actually be the case, to, I don't know, to have kids understand that.
We're in Muskoka, people!
I don't know how it was done, but somehow Camp Wawanakwa came back all this time later, and that's an entire other mystery on its own on how that was even done. So yeah, Camp Wawanakwa is truly a weird place. You can drive to it, it can sink, and yet it can still look like a perfectly normal island with no surrounding land, and it can come back after several years after a massive sinking. I guess we'll truly never know how any of these things are even remotely possible, but based on this video, it is really fun to speculate about, and the show gives us plenty to speculate on when it comes to the legitimacy of this island that's been home to the show for so many seasons. And with that, those are the mysteries of Camp Wawanakwa. Let me know down below what your thoughts on all this really wacky stuff is and what your interpretations of all this is. Also, let me know down below what else you'd like to see me talk about on this channel. Like the video, subscribe for more videos, and yeah, thank you for watching.